what's going on? How you doing?
Joe, I've been looking forward to meet you and talk with you.
Yeah, me too. I love the album, love what you're doing. It's great to meet you. Where are you located?
In New York,
Okay,
Brooklyn
you're in New
now.
York.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
Well, I'm in the home of Charlie Parker. I'm here in Kansas City, so yeah,
Oh man.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing.
It's fun. The scene's good. It's like anything. Like even in New York, like there's all these waves of things that just make jazz this evolved organism that it is today.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So it's
Uh-huh.
good. Well, let's get into the brand new album. I'm looking forward to getting into Dark Lights and your history of music. So thank you again for taking a minute out today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So let's begin our journey with this. 6 years ago, we look at the calendar, it's March, everything's melting away. COVID's happening. How did you get through that era as a musician? And how has it changed the way that you approach creativity and being a musician in 2026?
Wow. Well, I mean, yeah, it's this event, I guess, it's like everybody's experienced it, but everybody has their own personal take. So for me, I mean, I of course like try to devote to the positive, family, friends, and music, the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
And I just finished Berkeley, and I was gonna move. I was gonna go back home for like a brief 2 weeks before moving to New York, and the 2 weeks became 3 years. No complaints. It's just, this is how it happens. So I was grateful for, like being with the family during that time at home. And also I was very fortunate in terms of, there were no performances. It was like, like a frozen, feeling. But within that, I was fortunate to do my first film score, which was like, it was the thing that was not dependent on going out and performing. And this really iconic director called Avi Nesher, um, um, you know, called me to work with him on a periodic movie called Image of Victory. And the thing that triggered this was just he needed some jazz, like music of the era, but like an original music, and it evolved to me writing the whole score, and also collaborating with Randy Kerber, who is amazing, a legend, and like who really orchestrated like the symphonic score I composed and enriched it a great deal. So I got to learn a lot about, like firsthand, I got to do a crash course on the job on like writing film score and this new form of storytelling and focus on which appeals to me anyway,
Yeah.
and uh, and focusing on the melody and um, which also influenced the way I played when we were finally able to perform again. Like this new focus on what a melody can do when you really, put an emphasis on it and make the solo a continuation of the melody and just let it speak for itself and not, wait for the head in so that you can finally improvise. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, growing up, all of the cartoons and all the TV shows and a lot of movies, it was all jazz. That was like
Mhm.
whether it was conscious or subconscious, those were seeds that were planted into me that probably eventually led me to loving jazz as much as I do. And I think about it from your perspective, you're going to probably have a wider net of people that are going to listen to your music because it's in a film. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
what does that mean? Was that something that was actively a part of your thought process while you were doing this? You'd have a wider audience?
It was, I guess during the process it was just like I was devoted to the process.
Yeah.
It's a great afterthought, like, to notice that and accept that. But during just writing the music, um I mean, of course, I was occupied with it and also with like the similarities between just jazz and film scoring in terms of um, like the focus of like in surface of the story, it calls for a complete picture of who you are and influences that you've absorbed that cross genre. In jazz, of course, as long as you pay, you come with love and respect to the tradition of this music, then it becomes valid to integrate, like maybe broader picture of who you are. I studied classical music. I love folk music. It all ends up in there whether I want it or not. And in film, you get to sort of use it like, why else would I write four big band pieces in the style of the 40s if it's not in service of, setting the mood and this, valse triste that sort of became the theme of the movie. It's like this situation calls for a specific thing. So it's also a way to express the influence, but maybe in a more specific, intentional way,
Yeah.
and maybe less spontaneous, but there's always this spontaneous quantity. Even when you work on it, I remember, just um, sitting one of the great lessons I've learned. Um, I was sitting before a particularly sad scene, and I changed a major theme I wrote into a minor mode. And when Avi, the director, saw it, I was like, "Did somebody switch to another movie and nobody told me?" It's like, it's give us the melody, Don't be tempted. Oh, it's sad. It should be minor. So first, give us, the give us that melody, and what it made for is something that would have been pathetic became heroic
Yeah.
because you saw a sad situation against sort of like a triumphant theme. So it put the focus on the right thing. But the surprise of it, until we tried to use that theme, we wouldn't, we didn't know. So just so there is spontaneity in the process.
So talk to me about the brand new album, Dark Lights. Give me an idea of what your vision was and what you were going for.
Well, I mean, it's my second trio album. It feels very much like the first in terms of my first album, Dorley Song, was my arrangements to my mother's compositions, which made sense to me emotionally, because these are my first memories. This is where I come from, and that was an amazing experience, like, to like within itself. But now I got to bring forth like it's mostly comprised of my original compositions. So that gave this like another like first element, there's also two standards arrangements and another tune by my mother, which was a ballad, but I sort of gave it another treatment with her permission.
Yeah.
And uh, and every tune within that, I try to make it so like they all fit together. I didn't write them all at the same time, all the tracks, but they made sense to me because when I looked at them, I recognized harmonic patterns and melodic patterns, just a general mood that made them feel like they were from the same story, and it made it maybe easier to build an arc from them. Also, I'm very like each track means a lot to me because it sends me to like I know where they come from. I know there's like the arrangement to Out of Nowhere. Wherever I think about it, I think of two things. First, my first jazz teacher, Amit Golan, who is really amazing and taught a lot of generations back home. And every time he would teach you the real gems of the American songbook, even like lesser known gems. He would come and say, "Oh, check out this! This is the greatest ballad in the world." And every week it would be another ballad. It could be Things We Did Last Summer or If I Had You. And he taught me Out of Nowhere, and also like the 9/8 twist became, it was born out of like the jam sessions at Wally's when I was in Berkeley, and we were trying to, so spice things up and like, hey, let's play something in 3, and then the 3 became 9th. So it was shaped during that time. So like whenever I, think about this arrangement, it sends me to that memory. And this is the same with like Goodbye Alyosha, which I wrote immediately after finishing the Brothers Karamazov. You asked me about COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's difficult time, but maybe good time to catch in on some classics,
Yep.
some on some books. And I was reading Brothers Karamazov, and when I finished the last page, I just didn't know what to do with myself for like a half an hour.
Yes.
And I just stared. I was like, what
Yeah.
have I just been through? And then I went to the piano to my, could consult with my 88 friends and see what they have to say about it.
Yeah.
And this tune came up. So whenever I think about this tune, it, reminds me of that book. So yeah, it all makes like different, like, kind of senses to me, I guess. I
Totally.
don't know.
Absolutely. So take me back to your beginnings. Where were you born and raised, and how did the piano and jazz become your life?
So I was born in Tel Aviv, and my mom's a musician. That's why. That's why the whole thing. But make no mistake, I chose this. I wasn't like, I was drawn to it, and it's you know, luckily my parents are not the kind of person of parents of like, if I wanted to do something else, they would let me, But it became very much like, I was drawn to from like ever since I can remember, and um, it was easier, like even like at school, like I would play different, TV themes and video games themes, like, that was like a social tool before, you know, making a conversation, that
Yeah.
came a bit later. Uh, but um, but that was also an advantage because again, you were talking about like, old cartoons and like, the jazz score. I mean, just being exposed to so many different kinds of music, and like at the very beginning, because my mom has been writing for, film and theater. But then like at the age of, 7 or 8, I studied like classical music, like at the conservatory and also at school, uh, and then later on at like many good institutions. I think like which with teachers that I remember to this day. I mean, the Tel Aviv Conservatory and Tel Mayalin, the high school. Like a lot of my friends and also my heroes, like studied there. Ramon School of Music, which has this association with Berkeley, and studying jazz and classical at the same time, and seeing the connections, picking up on the connection, like connections. Like a lot of my vocabulary is still influenced by classical pieces I've learned, post-romantic and Baroque, just a contrapuntal approach. But also when I played classical music, because you have an experience of what it is to compose in the moment, you can give a spontaneous quality to performing music that's been written like hundreds of years in advance, and see development sections of, say, sonatas as a glimpse of, hey, this is what it might have sounded when Beethoven improvised, because they were all great improvisers, Chopin, Beethoven, Mozart. So you see the connections, and um, I'm being a bit associative. This is not chronological. Just yeah. Um, um, so yeah, just I guess going with with that curiosity, and also like learning like in those institutions with with the great teachers, and then um, which led to me going to Berkeley in like 2017, and um, so I'm sorry, could you
No, no, no.
bring me down to earth
Yeah, yeah,
again?
no, 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 no. So I'm going to kind of take what you put there, and
Sure.
I'm going to kind of fill in the fencing here because we got the posts up. So, was it always a dream to come to America?
Funnily enough, no, I mean, but I slowly came to the understanding, especially in high school, because everybody's talking about, oh my God, New York, what's going on in New York, and also Berkeley, because of the association with between the schools. And I initially thought, okay, because I'm very much attached to my home and my family, and what's going on there, even musically. And I was like, okay, I guess I gotta experience that and immediately, go back home, which is still the plan. Uh, but the more I stayed here, like, the more like immersed in the scene I became, was like, I am experiencing things here that I can only experience here. That was true of Boston, and that was is true of New York. And especially when you get out. when you get out over the New York winter, which luckily I've been sort of resilient to because of the Boston winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get out, you realize, hey, I'm a subway away from seeing the great late Al Foster, for instance, performing at the Vanguard and just being a kid, like a 90-year-old kid, you know, or seeing, I mean, everybody, if everybody who's still here. So, um, and when you take advantage of that, you're like, and also, like quite recently, I've been very fortunate to be playing like some special shows with Terence Blanchard,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was really extraordinary. Just to because I got to study with him at Berkeley as well, and he's like I mean, of course, he's a legend, but just this model of like any path he took is enough to, is it like a deep enough statement, whether he's like writing for film or whether he's, you know, playing trumpet and writing. It's like it's a model of you can do a lot of things in a very deep way. And I find that incredibly inspiring. And even if in the brief performances that we did, it was different projects. It was a suite from his opera that he wrote for If I Shut Up in My Bones, like a concert suite of that opera, and also Miles Davis and John Coltrane tribute with Ravi Coltrane and the amazing band that he has, Charles Ventura and Oscar Seaton and David Ginyard. So so being able to, play with those guys who also turned up to be like, like with come with good vibes. It's always a great relief when like great musicians turn up to be kind,
Yeah.
and it's does wonders for the music, of course. So, but I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of thing that makes me feel, hey, I like it's good that I'm here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like, yeah.
Yeah. So what gets you up every day? What do you like the best about being a professional musician?
Well, I like to be sort of open-minded. Like my everyday is sort of different in terms of the routine and and like just the musical aspect of it, because luckily I love many different things. So um, I mean, mostly I guess now that mostly it revolves about lately about the album and telling its story and also like preparing some new stuff. Um, um, but also like for instance, there's this. Again, this is one of the reasons that it's just, I mean, you'll see what I'm saying. There's this great Serbian singer, Tamara Jokic,
Yeah.
and I met her at Berkeley, and she was in New York for a while. She's now back in Boston. But, when we were, sort of bonding, I played her a melody of mine, and later I got like a voice memo. She wrote Serbian lyrics for my melody. And this
Wow.
is the only thing that only when you get out, these things can happen. So when you keep yourself open-minded, you can, play a jazz concert one day and, like a folk, like, and like a Serbian concert like the other day. And I just, a few months ago, I finished writing music for another film by the same director. So, Avi. So I'm very grateful to have it sort of like, you know, um, to be able to pursue different paths simultaneously and try not to lose ground. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. So why do you love jazz? At the end of the day, why do you love this art form we call jazz?
Ah, man. First of all, I fell in love with it when I heard Night Train, as a kid.
Yeah.
And I heard that Oscar Peterson, that was it for me. Uh, and also, like, if I try to analyze it, because at first it's an emotional connection. You don't know why. Um, And as I, you know, I mean, I guess like um, the more I knew about, the more I learned about jazz and about like, say, Oscar specifically is a great example because he could do everything on the piano, but this album is he maybe he uses like, I don't know, 15% of his technical ability. I don't know,
Yeah.
but just the delicate touch, which I learned later he incorporated from like, his classical background. Um, I mean, not just from it, but it's certainly an influence. And I mean, and when you hear like um, divine tracks like Hymn to Freedom, which is of course gospel and soul, but also there's a classical element to it, and the voice leading and you know how he builds it to that climax. And I mean, just thinking about him as maybe a reflection of what's happening, it's like, hey, he's a guy again, like I said that when you study every day more and more about this music, and you're willing to study more, and you always acknowledge that there's endless, you never cover it all, but you still get up and do it anyway, then it gives you legitimacy to say, oh, maybe, or to say, maybe I could, write my own verse.
Yeah.
And and when you improvise, uh, I mean, of course, I mean, this is not an original answer, but I guess improvisation appeals to a lot of people, especially when they come from classical music, maybe. And you see the magic that happens when you come with no preconception, and when you do it together as well. That's another thing which I love about this music. Because I mean the fact that you can play, I mean, with people you don't know, you never met, and make it sound like as if like you've been playing a lot, when you really listen, but and also the deep connection that's being created with people that you trust. Like say in the album, I play with like the extraordinary Eilam Friedlander on bass and Evyatar Slivnik on drums. We've been playing together. Our friendship goes back to like elementary school,
Yeah.
and we've been playing together in different situations, but that chemistry like manifests itself in trust
Yep.
and in space that we dare and feel comfortable enough to give each other, because we just can't wait what the other person has to say, and how we can shape it into a collective statement. And I guess some of my favorite moments just in general is when I get to lay out and see you know uh, I just remembered my friend told me this Hal Crook saying, uh, "How can we miss you if you're always there?"
Yeah.
You know? So
Yep.
just the idea of like being able to create orchestrational choices on the spot, because this is what makes an ensemble sound big,
Yeah.
when one or two instruments play,
Yeah.
and then suddenly the whole band plays and it's rich. So when all of us come in and out on the spot, wow, yeah, that's a deep dive. So I guess that's
Absolutely.
some of what's appealing to me about this music.
I love it. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, everyone on the bandstand, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh wow, man, that's a deep question.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I guess maybe I know the answer better when I don't have to think about it. Uh, who the
Who do
hell
you
do I
think you
think?
are?
Yes, exactly. Who the heck do I think I am?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's part of it,
Yeah.
especially when I talk about, I mean, I said like already a few times during this talk of ours, I mentioned like the respect to the tradition, and sometimes it can be paralyzing. Sometimes it can be daunting when you play even a standard, even when you play the start from just the commitment to to the story, like the overarching story of this music. Sometimes you do find like, sometimes this voice comes up like, so who are you? Like to do that. Who are you? For instance, this is also like when um, when I wrote the Stella by Starlight arrangement in Dark Lights, I had to confront that question, like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Because the melody is the same, but I left no chord unchanged. And it took me time to realize that, hey, maybe that's legit as a statement. I had to come, because at first I didn't want to, maybe include it, or because I was just experimenting with myself. But then I guess, I mean, it's Stella by Starlight is such, an iconic standard. And Alan Maleh, who is an amazing teacher which I got to study with at Berkeley, says, there's a reason they're called standards. Like, we are judged by these standards.
Yeah.
So I was, it took me time to understand, hey, maybe it's another scene in the same movie,
Yeah.
and maybe in that regards it's valid. But to say, who do I think I am? Well, in music, I certainly, I guess, you know I'll try to answer it, like, I don't have like such an organized answer. I will say that I do aim for a certain kind of storytelling that manifests itself in melody. I love melodies. I don't think there's gonna be, like, enough room in the world for like another, like, there can always be room for another melody. And this is like is what guides me and what I aim for. And luckily, through jazz, I get to express it, like this melodic vision through what I learned from, you know, classical music. And also, like, I'm a big, you know, folk fan, whether it's, people like, Joan Baez and Pete Seeger, and, Paul Simon and James Taylor and Johnny Mitchell, like, and all these guys that tell a story. And sometimes when I play their melodies, they have this, conversational, quality, because, you got the repeated notes, but you feel, oh, it's not just a repeated note. It's like he's saying something, they're saying something. So, um, um, so yeah, um, um, I mean, who do I think I am? That's, you know, for now, the answer is, like, I try to be as guided by melody as possible, I
I
guess.
love it. That's a wonderful answer. So the new album, is Bandcamp the best place for people to download or get a copy?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm so happy that it came out via, Anzic. I mean, Oded Levari and Anat Cohen are amazing musicians, and I'm so happy that I found a home,
Yeah,
in their label. And
I
yeah.
love it. And then live shows, anything coming up for you?
Well, if you're around New York, there is a show at the Ornithology Jazz Club,
Okay.
an amazing venue at 30 March 31st. So yeah, coming up.
Excellent. I will put all these links in the show notes. What a joy, Tom. So great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. Best of luck on the release and everything else. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Yeah, you bet.
Amazing.
And
Neon Jazz.